Police and Bylaw Services. It'd be those two groups that have authority to tow trucks in the City of Ottawa.
So both the city and OPS?
That's right. That's right.
And what happened with the towing capacity in this situation? My understanding is that there wasn't sufficient towing capacity. So maybe you can explain this, what happened, what the situation was.
Well, it became evident early on that we needed to access heavy tow trucks, and they aren't a common vehicle. We explored what the city has in its own inventory, and we had 2 heavy tow trucks with OC Transpo that could have been utilized, even though our staff were very reluctant to participate and do that because they felt for their safety. We then started at the NRCC, we ended up calling tow truck companies, other cities, the province, the federal government, looking to see if we could access heavy-duty tow trucks for our use in the event the police needed them or we needed them. And we were getting declined by everybody we called in that they didn't want to get involved. So we had no access to any tow trucks other than the 2 that we had, and our staff were reluctant to go in.
So was the city taking the lead then on procuring towing capacity on behalf of both the city and OPS?
No, both were doing it. We were working with the police. Police were making calls, and we were also making calls to our sources. We fanned out and tried to contact anybody we knew to see if we can get tow trucks into Ottawa.
And were any of those efforts successful?
No, we didn't get any.
And you mentioned that some of the tow trucks companies refused to tow vehicles that were associated with the convoy, or they were not willing to tow. What's your understanding of why they were refusing to tow?
Well, there are several reasons. The first was their own safety. I think they felt that trying to tow a vehicle without the site being secured in amongst protesters, you could imagine, it could be quite conflictual when you're trying to take someone's truck and people are still around the truck. So they were concerned about that. They were concerned about the damage potentially to their own vehicle should things get out of hand, and it's a cost to their business. Some were concerned that they do business with truckers and trucking companies, and that this would damage them reputationally and they would lose business. Some were sympathizers or supported the protests and didn't feel that they were going to offer their services to do it. Those were generally the reasons. And
these are companies that the city has on contract, is that right?
No, the city does have a towing standing offer, but we don't do a lot of heavy equipment vehicle towing. We have heavy equipment, obviously. Most of our towing contracts are to tow parked vehicles in and around the city who are illegally parked or for whatever reason or for enforcement issues. But yes, we do have contracts with tow truck businesses in Ottawa who have in their inventory heavy tow trucks to be able to use in the event one of our dump trucks or heavy trucks needs to be towed or any other situation.
So is your understanding that the refusal was coming both from the existing contractors with the city and with others that you were reaching out to?
Yes, because we reached out to our standing offer contractors first and they refused.
And would this be, were they contractually obligated to respond when the city called on them?
Yes, they were.
And what measures did the city take to enforce these contracts, if any?
Well, it's a short time frame. You can't enforce it in a matter of days or weeks, but certainly our procurement people and our lawyers were looking at the contracts to start taking action against those tow truck companies. But you couldn't fulfill that in the time period that we had and actually take any significant action to make them do it. And even then, to make them do it probably would have been a difficult situation at that stage of the protests.
And so the 2 heavy tow truck vehicles that OC Transpo had, did those end up being used?
No.
And why not?
Well, a lot of people, have asked me, and at the time were demanding that we start ticketing and towing the vehicles out of that area in the neighborhoods and particularly on Wellington Street. But the reality is, until and you saw it on the last weekend when police moved in and started clearing the red zone. You need to secure the area where the actual physical truck is, protect it before you can bring the tow truck in and be able